I hope you all enjoyed the keynote. I certainly did. And with that, we'll start with a conversation about digital sovereignty. I'm Archana Ramamoorthy, product manager with a regulated cloud organization. And very shortly, I'm going to be joined together by Cyprian Falk, CEO of Sans, to talk about digital sovereignty. So over the course of the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about what digital sovereignty is, why is digital sovereignty important to every one of you in this room, the solutions that Google offers to meet your sovereignty needs, and then we'll wrap up with some resources. So when it comes to security and risk management, Google Cloud has a very unique mission and vision, and it brings together three key factors. You heard from Kevin Mandia this morning, and he mentioned these factors as well. Number one is frontline threat intelligence and expertise to help you be prepared before, during, and after a security incident. Second is security operations, and not just simple security operations, but you want a modern security operations platform that actually helps you detect, investigate, and respond to cyber threats using the speed, the scale, and the intelligence of Google Cloud. And the third aspect, which I'm sure a lot of you in this room are excited about, is having a trusted platform. And not just a simple trusted platform, you want to make sure that you have a platform that's secure by design and secure by default. And bringing together all of these key elements makes it possible for us as Google to provide you with the best-in-class security solutions to meet all of your needs. So now, when we think about trusted platform, a core part of a good trusted platform is digital sovereignty. And what makes digital sovereignty complicated is I could go around this room, ask each and every one of you what digital sovereignty means to you, your organization, or your country. And I'm sure I'll give different answers from each and every one of you in the room. So the consensus definition of digital sovereignty is basically the ability for a country or an entity or an organization to have complete control over the software and technology operations of their data within their jurisdictions. So organizations around the world truly understand the power of using cloud, the innovation that cloud provides. People also understand the security they get with cloud, the sustainability, the scale that you get with cloud. But a lot of times customers ask me the question of, Archana, how do I actually balance all of these benefits with the compliance needs and sovereignty needs that I have within my country? And why is sovereignty becoming a very, very important factor? So this is rooted in a number of concerns, and a lot of them are not just technology related. So if you look at what's on stage here, the first is security and control. So countries want to make sure that as a lot of their data moves from on-prem solutions to the cloud, that they have the right regulations in place to make sure that that data is protected the right way by the entities that are handling that data. So you can see in the European Union where a lot of regulations are coming up. There is GDPR, there is Gaia X, there's Secnum Cloud in France, there's BSI that's looking at regulations in Germany, there's the upcoming EUCS. So that's the trend we're seeing. The second aspect is economic. Obviously, there is a desire to have local players involved in a lot of these cloud conversations. And that's because of various factors. So first is, for your local economy to develop, you want to make sure that you're incentivizing local players to be part of this equation for cloud transformation. The second is you want to make sure that you do not have lock-in with any provider or vendor. And third, you want to make sure that you have protection against extraterritorial access. And lastly, there's a geopolitical element. We know that the one thing that's the most dynamic in the world is geopolitics. Things change every day. So companies want to make sure that when they have the most sensitive data that needs to operate even in the middle of a geographic crisis within their country, that they still have access to that data, they're able to run their economies, they're able to provide citizen services in those cases, right? So these are some of the reasons why companies want to make sure that digital sovereignty is part of their process and their portfolio. Now, what we've realized is digital sovereignty as a concept is really huge. So we wanted to distill it down to three key elements that help you sort of anchor and understand the elements of digital sovereignty that you should be caring about. Starting with data. Now, data is the new oil. Everybody knows this. And that's where the problem starts, right? As you bring that data onto the cloud, you obviously need to make sure that there are the right protections and controls for that data. So we start with data sovereignty, which is the ability for you as an organization to have complete control over your data at any given point of time. You should be able to define where the data should stay. You should have complete control over the cryptographic operations of that data. The second element is operational sovereignty. Let's go one step beyond just data and say you as an entity should have complete control over how that data or that cloud is actually operated. It could be as simple as defining who should be actually providing support, could be local support, or it could go all the way to the other side to say, look, I don't even want you as an entity to be operating my cloud. I want somebody else to be doing those operations, somebody I trust in a local environment. The last one is software sovereignty. So this is often referred to as survivability. So imagine a situation, a geopolitical situation, where a country is cut off from access for some reason. And there are certain workloads that are critical for the intelligence agencies in the government. There are certain workloads that are required to stay operational in a disconnected mode. In those situations, you want to make sure that there is software sovereignty available for those workloads. Now, we took this vision and we basically built concrete products around this vision that ground you and help you actually take your digital sovereignty posture to the next level. So clearly, you've seen how complex this concept is. So it would be interesting to think that one solution is actually going to solve all of your problems. I'm here to say I'm sorry, that's not the case. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where you want a portfolio of solutions so that you can better equip yourself, right? And why is that? Why do you need a portfolio of solutions? Number one, not all of your data is equal. I'm sure when I go to my house, my shoes are in one place, but my jewelry is in a completely different place. Similarly, within your enterprise, you have some data that's non-sensitive, you have other data that's sensitive, and you want to make sure that each of these is handled in an appropriate fashion. The second is your business growth is most important to you, which means you determine the countries where you want to expand your portfolio into. And each of these countries might have different regulations. They might have different sovereignty requirements, which means you have to make sure that your products and capabilities can function within the boundaries of those countries in the right way. So within our portfolio, we have three key areas of focus. The first one is sovereign controls. What we do with sovereign controls is we take GCP as you know it, and we make sure that there are the right controls and capabilities placed on top of GCP in order for you to have clear control over your data and access to that data within the platform. The second area of focus is hosted cloud. So for that survivable workloads that you have, places where you need that software sovereignty, we want to provide you with a mechanism through which you can host that data, bring that to the cloud, and use that within the constructs of an operational environment that you trust. And lastly, Supervised Cloud. This is our forthcoming offering. This actually provides the strongest data and operational sovereignty needs in specific countries such as France and Germany. So we'll talk a little bit about each of these solutions, starting with sovereign controls. Now, we've seen that in majority of the places around the world, this solution can actually solve for majority of the problems that we see and use cases that we see with our customers. So diving into this, as I said, this is built on top of GCP. And the core goal with sovereign controls is it allows you to keep your core data in a given geography. So you can choose the European Union, you can use like France or Germany or other locations using our data residency controls. And the most important part of this is we don't think that data sovereignty can only be achieved by data location. We go above and beyond to allow you with the capabilities to operate your cryptographic key material outside the constructs of Google. So you can actually manage your encryption keys outside of Google. And you can also go one step beyond that and say, you as a customer, either directly or through a partner, is able to approve or deny access to that cryptographic key material by Google whenever there is a transaction that's happening. So this means that you're not only deciding the location where your data stays, you're going one step beyond to say, look, I have complete control over saying yes or no to any access request that comes my way. So very powerful. And when we work with local partners for our sovereign controls, Our local partners help provide more inspectability and audits on top of what Google provides. So there's somebody constantly looking at what Google does within the environment. And apart from that, they also help customers manage these encryption keys because you might not have the capability to do this on your own, or you might not want to invest on those resources yourself. And they also manage these access justifications on behalf of you. Now, we truly believe that partners are critical in this journey as we move into different countries. They understand the economy, they understand the players, they understand the government, they understand the regulations. So for us, having strong partnerships in different parts of the world is critical. We've announced more partners than any other providers in the European Union, and we're actively expanding our partnerships outside of the European Union as well. Now, Sovereign Controls provides most popular cloud services that you're very used to. So whether it's infrastructure modernization, app modernization, analytics with BigQuery, you get all of that with Sovereign Controls. So it's the same capabilities with further protections and guarantees that you can get to meet your data sovereignty needs. Now, we're constantly adding more services. We're adding more regions to this. We have upcoming launches coming up in Italy, in Spain, in Saudi Arabia, in Japan, and several other places to make sure that as your business expands, you also have GCP to use as part of your expansion plans. Now, let's look at the hosted cloud solution. We understand that not all workloads can move to the public cloud, and there may be different factors for this. There could be very strict requirements to support air-gapped or disconnected operations. There could be compliance and sovereignty requirements for the highest levels of government workloads. And these workloads may need to operate in limited or no connectivity to the internet in some cases. So for these cases, in cases of national emergencies and such, we actually provide the Google Distributed Cloud offering. It's a portfolio of hardware and software solutions. It extends our infrastructure to the edge, basically into your data centers. And the unified GDCH platform actually lets you store your data where you actually need it. And it lets you run modern applications because of our open source capabilities and ecosystem that we incorporate into GDC. Now, you all know this is no secret, but Google has always embraced an open cloud strategy. So this means that with the GDCH platform, it makes it easier for developers, for ISVs and others to actually build disconnected applications on top of our platform. And we also provide familiar services like Elasticsearch, MongoDB Enterprise Advanced, SAP, all of that on distributed cloud as part of our marketplace. So it helps you with the expansion strategy as well. Now we'll look at Supervised Cloud. It's our forthcoming product offering, and it addresses the strongest data and operational sovereignty requirements that we see in countries like France and Germany. And this product brings together the scale and power of Google Cloud's products with the operational controls that our partners bring to the table. Now, in this model, what happens is Google provides the cloud services stack, and this is completely disconnected from the rest of GCP. And our partners, that's local third parties, actually sell, maintain, operate, and support the cloud. So now, just taking that in, what this means is that the partner actually controls the physical infrastructure. The partner controls the roots of trust. They control the identity systems, the access control systems, and upgrades to the software. So you can think of this as getting same functionality as GCP in an isolated cloud that's operated by partners. And we're partnering with Sans in France and with T-Systems in Germany. And this is to meet the strictest requirements of Secnum Cloud in France and the local BSI requirements in Germany. And we're also building this, keeping the future in mind, right? We only see the regulations changing in every part of the world. So we want to make sure that as we're building these platforms, we're able to deploy this in other places. So for example, the upcoming EUCS regulations, which we think will land by the end of the year or beginning of next year, they have different levels. And for the highest level of sovereignty needs with EUCS, this product should be able to meet it. Now, there's always this question of, achieving such high levels of sovereignty comes with trade-offs. That's exactly what we wanted to avoid. So we've been investing very heavily in Supervised Cloud to provide customers with the same Google Cloud experience. So if you use GCP, Supervised Cloud should look and feel exactly the same. So same service catalog, same experience, same API compatibility. So it feels like you're using GCP, but you're actually using it in an isolated environment, just as the regulators in France and Germany would want. So what this means is we're taking the core Google Cloud services, whether it's local services or global services, and we're deploying them into universes, one for T-Systems in Germany, and another one for SANS in France. Each of these universes contain familiar Google products that you're used to. So it'll have the BigQuery, the cloud storage, and the compute engine that you're used to on a day-to-day basis. So it means you're getting the powerful software that you're always used to, delivering the hyperscale capabilities that you expect from Google. And this also makes the developer experience very easy, right? So you could, in this world, use public cloud. You could be using sovereign controls. You could be using supervised cloud. And you can bring in the right workloads into the right platform and capabilities. And because the experience is the same, you don't have to retrain any of your engineers. It also means you can use your existing Terraform scripts and other scripts that are used for bringing in workloads. So overall, from an experience standpoint, it allows you to actually have a very seamless experience across GCP and other sovereign products. And lastly, this is one of our forthcoming products. We're working on this very actively, and we are looking forward to bringing this and making this available to you as soon as possible. Now, with that background on different sovereign products, I would like to invite Cyprien Falk, the CEO of SANS. He's been with us in this journey of building supervised cloud. So let's talk to him a little bit about his experiences and also about sovereignty. Cyprien, welcome.
Yes.
Cyprien, it's amazing to have you here. Maybe you can take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, Archana. I'm also very excited to be here and to be discussing this very hot topic of sovereignty together. So very in a nutshell, I have an engineering background, studied my career at strategic consulting, then worked for a couple of years at Mano Mano, which is one of the hottest unicorns in France, where I built and led the advanced analytics team. And I joined Thales, which is a global leader in security and cybersecurity 4 years ago, first to work on digital transformation topics. And actually I was asked almost 3 years ago to explore an early stage opportunity of a partnership with Google Cloud to offer to the French market the equivalent of GCP, but compliant with the French regulation. And that's what became SANS today. And that's why I became the CEO of SANS too.
Yeah, and I know you have an interesting update for us from the personal side. You should share?
Yeah. From a personal side, I just got my third kid 2 months ago. So yeah, the days and nights are pretty busy actually.
Congratulations. And, tell us a little bit more about SANS. And, Thales and Google have had a very long relationship. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how both the companies are related and, why SANS?
Yeah, indeed, you're right. The relationship between Thales and Google Cloud goes back a long way. And I think that's what also facilitated our partnership. So SANS specifically is a subsidiary of Thales, a dedicated subsidiary for this partnership on sovereignty. And indeed, the question is right. Why did we need a dedicated brand and a dedicated subsidiary for this partnership? Because there are lots and lots of other kind of partnership between Thales and Google Cloud. I think there are two main reasons. The first one is that Thales basically sells and builds cybersecurity products and solutions, while SANS will really be a cloud service provider. As you said, we will maintain and operate the equivalent of GCP. So we need to make it clear to the market and to really position SANS as a cloud service provider. The second reason is that it's also important to show the implication of Google in the partnership. I think the customers want as much the sovereign dimension brought by and kind of local guarantees brought by Thales than to make sure that they get the equivalent of GCP with no compromise. And that's why having a dedicated branding, providing the best of both worlds, as you see here, we thought was the best option. SANS is a European entity, which is also important and essential to adapt to the specific context. The legal entity was created a year ago. We are already 60, and we need to be almost 150 in 18 months.
And it's been a pleasure working with you very closely on all of our offerings, Cyprien. And, we're talking about the interesting topic of digital sovereignty. And I initially mentioned to everybody in this room if I ask each person what the definition of sovereignty is, it's going to be very different. So I'm going to pose that question to you. What is digital sovereignty to you, and why is it important for the French market?
So you're right. It's a vague term. If I had to answer, I would tell kind of the most encompassing definition, which is all the different possible options for customers to get additional guarantees on their data and workloads. Having said that, in France, there are lots of public controversy around sovereignty, since it's a vague term. And I would say we have the chance, the luck to get another terminology that we rather use, which is trusted cloud. It's been defined by the French government in 2021, associated with a dedicated certification called SecNum Cloud, with almost 300 criteria, so very kind of robust requirements that ensure that cloud service solution protects, is guaranteed against extraterritorial access. And so we rather talk about trusted cloud. And I think this explicit definition is essential because it avoids a lot of debate and long-lasting debate and discussion with the customers. It also created some market traction. I think we'll talk about it later. And it has already unlocked a major obstacle to cloud adoption for regulated industries. And why important for France? France, I think, has been at the forefront of discussion on sovereignty. When it comes about regulation, we're pretty good in France. So it's been a topic of interest for several years already. We've had previous and successful initiatives. It's now a very hot topic. And one example for that is that our Minister of Economy is now Minister of Economy and Industrial and Digital Sovereignty.
And absolutely, France has definitely been in the forefront of all of these regulatory requirements and has been working very clearly on setting those up. So that's actually been very helpful, not just for us, but for the rest of the European Union as well. So just moving on a little bit, why did you choose to partner with Google Cloud?
There were several reasons for that. First, we wanted to get the best technology. And especially when it comes to data and AI, wanted to provide a rich catalog of services to customers because that's what's lacking on the French market today. And I think what we've seen, just like in the keynote this morning, just confirms our choice on going with Google Cloud. Second, what's also important is to get a partner that has an ambitious strategy on sovereignty with sizable investments and a willingness to make it a differentiator. And also a partner that has the flexibility and willingness to kind of adjust or work together on a new operating model. Because what you just showed for Supervised Cloud is that we're really building together a new operating model. And that's really what we found with Google Cloud. Sovereignty is one of the key differentiators for, I would say, for you. And that's really key when we see all the technical challenges that we're facing and that we're managing to have this flexibility and openness. And I would say last, we share the same engineering mindset, which means that over the past 3 years, we've had some technical challenges, but every time we managed to sit around the table, understand each other, and we've always found some solutions. And that's what I find the most amazing in the partnership.
Thank you. And talking about customers, right? Are there certain customers that actually come to you and talk about digital sovereignty? Is there a certain sector where you see more of a need for sovereignty than others?
So my short answer would be it's less a matter of type of customer interested, than for each customers, which scope will they consider sensitive and put on Supervised Cloud and sovereign clouds. In terms of customer segments, of course, we think of public sector, and that's right. And that in France, they will be forced to use SecNum Cloud solutions for their sensitive data. But this goes way beyond that. And all the customers we've talked to in all industries are interested in those sovereign solutions and have some cases top of mind. So it's like some finance customers, some customers in automotive, aerospace and defense, energy and utilities, telecommunication, health, of course. And we even have in France a notion of essential operators defined by the French government, and they are the most demanding on sovereign solutions. So those are, mostly major big companies that share some concerns on geopolitical aspects. And those are both companies already that are already Google Cloud customers, and some that are not, which is also interesting. But our partnership opened them some new opportunities. So I would say what's the most impressive, what really stuck me, is that every single customer we've talked to is interested and has some use cases top of mind. And then, as I said, the use cases are different, the scopes are different, and that's what mostly varies.
And there's this elephant in the room at all times, which is digital sovereignty actually an enabler or an inhibitor for acceleration of cloud adoption? What do you think about that?
I think that, it's clearly been an inhibitor for the past years because there weren't some solutions that gave the same level than public cloud, some offering at public cloud with the, I would say, sovereign requirements. So I would say in France, globally, almost all the most sensitive data are still on premise. And it's often for good reasons, but we also see sometimes that this goes way too far or too extreme decisions. I know that finance, for example, in France, until now has been very late in the cloud adoption compared to other countries. And this also creates some long-lasting, time-consuming internal discussions, which clearly slows down the cloud adoption. But we really expect with our offerings to accelerate this, to be an accelerator, and to enable the regulated industries to catch up the pace of the move to cloud of public cloud solutions. So we've noticed that in France, but more globally, even in Europe. You talked about EUCS in the last month, so it's becoming a hot topic in Europe as a whole. And I would say last, it also includes independent software vendors. We see more and more software vendors that come to us, and basically they will have the same Secnum Cloud requirements for them too. And so they come to us and are willing also to offer their solutions in a compliant environment.
Got it. And, let's maybe talk a little bit about what's actually in the market. So what have we launched today? And what can customers use?
So what we've launched is what you call sovereign controls here, which in France we call local controls with sense, which the naming aligns with the market needs and branding required. The offering is available since early February in GA, and we already have a very rich catalog of services with not only infrastructure services, but also the major PaaS services like BigQuery, Spanner, Bigtable, etc. As you already mentioned, so very quickly, this solution provides controls on the core data residency, transparency on the access from any operations from Google, and the ability for Sense to manage the encryption key. So basically, Sense is managing an external key manager. This enables customers mostly two different values for customers. First, it enables them to apply the appropriate set of controls for some type of data. And we often think, and the biggest use case is around personal data that are subject to regulation like GDPR, for example. And second, it also enables them to start the journey towards sovereignty with Sense in the perspective of trusted cloud, but to start it now and to win some precious month in their move to cloud.
And how are customers and the market sort of reacting to this product? Do we have customers that are using this capability today?
Yeah, so as I said, the product has been live for almost 6 months. We've already been signing a very fair number of customers since the release. You see some of them here that we're going to announce today, notably several major actors in finance. So you hear it first before we can jointly announce our collaborations, but we have signed with Matmut, Massif also, who are two major insurances in France. GE Carte Bancaire, which is a consortium of the 6 major French banks in the finance industry. All those customers came to us very quickly because they were willing to move to the cloud for the past years already, but were blocked and they couldn't for different security reasons. So, as soon as we had the offering, things went very quickly with them. The use cases cover, I would say, different use cases, infrastructure, but also data use cases that they couldn't develop and deploy on-premise, or even new applications that require scalability and high performance. We're also seeing a growing interest from retail and services that are handling lots of personal data and that want sometimes to apply a higher degree of protection for some sensitive personal data. And last, we even have some industry customers Thales is one of them. We have some other one that are using local controls to prepare themselves to the trusted cloud.
And Cyprian, just switching gears a little bit, right? Like we're making tremendous amount of investment on Supervised Cloud. So can you tell us a little bit about what SANS is doing with Supervised Cloud and the investments that you've been making?
Yes, you're right. That's massive investments from both companies, but aligned with like a very ambitious vision of the market. Several analysts expect that between 15 to 30% of the French cloud market could be on sovereign clouds. So as a very short reminder, Supervised Cloud is where Google will basically deliver the software stack to SANS, who will then verify, maintain, and operate the stack, and then of course sell the solution. So in terms of investments, this means 3 dedicated data centers. So we're building the equivalent of a public GCP region, but dedicated for our Supervised Cloud. Of course, a dedicated company with SANS with almost 200 people to maintain and operate the stack. And also in terms of engineering, we're working collectively currently together to building a new operating model. And those are also tremendous investments for both companies.
Are there specific use cases that you've heard specifically for Supervised Cloud from customers?
Yeah, lots of, because as I said, as I told you before, every customer we talk about Supervised Cloud has some use cases in mind. What really struck me again is it's not like niche or marginal new applications, but it's rather critical elements of their IT. So some kind of examples of use cases can be connected vehicles data, strategic and financial data, digital banking, personal health data, new insurance offerings. So those are, and of course, new AI offerings. Those are some examples of the many use cases we've talked about with customers. Some other customers even think of some entire scope of their IT moving to SANS. It can be like ERP, CRM, SRM. Even some customers are considering closing some their own data centers to move and migrate everything to SANS. Second, what's important also is that they won't migrate all their data to SANS. And as you said, they'll have different offerings, and we're actively working on providing like a continuum of offerings between public GCP, local controls, and the Supervised Cloud. And most of customers are considering a target state when they're using those different solutions. They'll keep using public GCP for some non-sensitive use cases, and some Supervised Cloud for more sensitive ones, for example. And some of them even think of hybrid use cases where one example, a good example is BI, for example, business intelligence. Mm-hmm. They want to mix some non-sensitive data with some sensitive data. And so also like we've begun working with them on finding some solutions for them to make the solutions while not altering the sensitivity of and the sovereignty of the sensitive data.
No, I mean, that totally makes sense. And there's always the question that comes about what is unique about this solution? Why this solution versus other solutions? And how do you think this is going to be accepted by the market?
That's a very good question. And I mean, we've often asked the question ourselves because given the size of the investments, we want to make sure it's, it will be like it will be successful. First, let me remind very shortly that Thales was involved in an unsuccessful experience 5 to 10 years ago, where the idea was to kind of rebuild from scratch a French like kind of sovereign cloud based on open source software. And as I said, the initiative failed. I would say mostly for 2 reasons. First, the offering was technically too poor compared to public cloud, and customers were not willing to accept the gap and the trade-off. And second, the maturity of the market was lower too. So now what really makes us unique and why I'm very highly confident it will be highly successful is that we are making no compromise versus the public cloud. We're targeting the same catalog of services, not only a subset, but almost every service. Same level of performance, and as I said, we'll have the equivalent of a GCP region, and synchronous updates, which means let's say we're in 2025, BigQuery will be available on the Supervised Cloud. an update on BigQuery will be available at the same time on the public cloud and on Supervised Cloud. And given the hybrid use cases that I've talked about, it's very important for customers. So those are the different reasons why I really think we're unique. And I'm highly confident we'll do well because there are tremendous expectations, tremendous market traction. And by the way, there is another initiative, a similar initiative involving Microsoft, which shows the traction and market expectations in France. We think we'll be the first on the market to provide like a rich catalog of service with the Secnum Cloud certification. And I would say compared to the current local French players, will provide a higher level of performance, higher resilience, and above all the managed services within GCP.
Yeah, and just even thinking about the French situation, the regulations and everything else, we talked about how a lot of this is driven by regulations. And we've been working very closely with ANSI on the Secnum Cloud regulations and the needs for a product of this sort. Could you talk a little bit about how that has been, the experience, as well as what we've been doing throughout this process?
Yes, we've worked with ANSI from the very beginning, from day one, because we wanted to make sure that the architecture we put in place will be compliant. So it's already been a very long journey, more than 2 years now. And we built on the very good relationship between Thales, the existing relationship between Thales and ANSI, of course. We're continuing to discuss with ANSI. We're validating almost every single decision we're making to ensure we get the certification at the end. And I think this is a win-win collaboration. Of course, we need ANSI, as I said, to ensure the compliance of our model. But I also think that ANSI is also very interested in sense. I mean, they've defined a new certification that's pretty demanding, and they want the most offerings to get the certification. And our promise to deliver the equivalent of the Google Cloud Platform offering with the certification is expected by the whole market. And I think that's why also ANSI is really helping us on this.
And thank you so much for all of this information, Cyprien. This has been really helpful, and I'm sure everybody agrees with me. Could you, for folks that are just starting out on their sovereignty journey, do you have any comments before you wrap up on what they could be doing in order to make this journey a little bit smoother for them?
Yeah, with pleasure. I would say first, you should remember that this is a very long journey. So you should start now. Don't wait that the solutions are available. There are lots of things to anticipate. There are some strategic decisions to make that are encompassing some financial aspect, some investments, some resources aspect, some technical decisions to make. So this should be anticipated, and you should start now first. It's also a topic that has to be addressed at the highest level of the companies, given the strategic decisions to make. Second, as we've discussed over the whole session, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. So taking back your example on the shoes and the jewelry, you should start, if that's not already the case, by identifying the different type of data and sensitivity you have, and finding the appropriate solutions for each. And think of a target model, which will be a hybrid model with different solutions. And I would say last, don't forget the resource dimension. Internal resources will need to be upskilled, to be trained. This takes time, and that's need to be anticipated now.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Cyprien. It's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you. All right, folks. Cyprien actually made my job very easy because I was going to do a wrap-up and give you some resources and things to actually think about, but he was spot on. He actually gave us the key things for you to think about in this journey. The first part is obviously classifying your workloads. As we've all repeated over and over again, the same solution is not going to fit all of your needs. So one of the first things to do as an organization is think about the different workloads that you're planning to sort of bring into this sovereign environment. And the second is being strategic, right? Thinking through which countries do you plan to expand your business to over the next 5 years. So these countries or determination of these countries actually helps you in thinking about the regulations that actually apply in each of these countries. And then lastly comes the process of actually picking the solutions. And we hope that we can make that process a little bit easier for you, because we're thinking along the same lines of thinking about the actual workloads, the expansion into different countries and the regulations, and we're closely paying attention to regulations in different parts of the world to bring you the best solutions for your needs, right? And to make this a little bit more easier, we also have a Digital Sovereignty Explorer. I promise this QR code is safe. You can click on it. It actually takes you to the Explorer. And this actually makes this journey a little bit easier for you, so you can map out exactly the kind of product that you might need to take in as part of your journey for digital sovereignty.